Is it audible, guys? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So last session, what we have discussed about? We discussed about the first type of looping statement. So what we have discussed? While loop concept we have discussed, right? So in today's session, we will discuss about for loop concept. So what's the next type of loop available in Python programming language? Hello. So last session we discussed about while loop. So in today's session, we will discuss about for loop. So what about do while loop? Is do while loop supported in Python programming language, guys?
No, no, sir.
No, it is not supported because we don't we won't see the concept of do while loop in Python programming language. So how many types of loops can be seen here? So here we can see while loop and for loop. So last session we discussed about while loop. So today's session we will discuss about for loop concept. Okay. So it is not same as what we have seen in C programming language. It is somewhat different when compared with what the C programming language. The for loop which we have seen in C programming language. So it is not same as the thing as what we are seeing in for loop in Python programming language, guys. That is different from C programming language. Please remember. Okay. So let us discuss about for loop concept. So are you able to see the notepad editor?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for loop is used for iterating over a sequence. So sequence data types, what we have discussed, we discussed in the form of list, tuple, set, frozen set, dictionaries. Even string is considered under the category of the sequence data types, having what multiple number of characters available in consequent manner, right? So those kind of things are called as what? Sequences. Sequence data types. So in sequence data types, all collection related data types. So collection related data types comes into the category of sequence. So other than the collection related data type, so even string is falling into this particular category, sequence. So what happens here? So let us consider a string. So if you look into the string, so what a string contains? String contains what? Sequence of characters. Sequence of characters stored inside by side locations of the memory, right? So that sequence. So when you are seeing such kind of sequence, so sequence of characters, sequence of data items, sequence of elements, so such kind of things comes into the concept of what? For loop. So we can use this for loop concept. So for iterating over a sequence. So when it is sequence, so what sort of things can be seen as part of sequence? So if you observe that string concept can be seen, the collection related data types, what we have discussed, all those things considered under the sequence. So for loop is used for iterating over what? Over a sequence. So what are available as part of sequence? So if you observe that list, tuple, dictionary. So whatever collection related data types are there, along with that string is also covered under the sequence. So for loop is used for iterating over a sequence. So this is not like what the for keyword which we have seen in C programming language. C, C++, such sort of thing, such sort of feature is not supported in Python, guys. So this particular for loop is used over what? It is used over iterating over the sequences, guys. Sequence, under sequences, what we can see? List, tuple, frozen set, dictionary, string. So such kind of things can be considered. So with the for loop, we can execute a set of statements once for each item available in the list. Each item in the sense the element which is part of the list. Let us suppose if I am considering list having some 5 number of elements. How many number of elements, guys? So let us consider a list having some 5 number of elements. As list is having 5 number of elements, for each element the logic is going to be executed for one time. So based upon the number of elements, number of data items available in the list and available within the sequence, based upon that many number of times the logic is going to be executed. Is it clear, guys? Please respond. Are you following or not? Please respond. Please give me some kind of response, guys. I will show you with the help of examples. Are you understanding my point or not?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Okay. So let us see with the examples. Okay. So range function. So what it does, range function will return sequence of values, guys. What it returns? It returns sequence of numbers. What it returns? Sequence of numbers will be returned by the range function. So what do we need for loop? For loop, we need sequence or not? Please respond.
yes, sir.
So what does range function return? Range function will return sequence of numbers. So it always starts from what? 0 by default. So if you want to start it from other than 0, so you have to go with the 2 parameters. But let us see the first example using range function, guys. So this is the syntax, guys. So first of all, we have to specify the for keyword followed by the loop variable. So here we can consider x as the loop variable. Then in keyword followed by range function has to be used. Range function has to be used. So here I'm using range of 10. So when I'm using range of 10, so what it returns? It returns sequence of numbers starting from 0. So 0 to it considers up to 9. So each value is incremented by 1. So what's the starting value, guys? 0 is the starting value. It increments the 0 by 1 such that it takes up to 10 minus 1. The value which we specify as part of this particular range function, minus 1 up to that particular value increments by 1. So 0 to 9 values are returned. So sequence of values. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So these are considered as what? Items part of what? The sequence which is returning by the range function. So range function, range of 10. What it returns? It returns sequence of numbers, guys. Sequence of numbers. So it starts from 0 by default. It starts from 0 by default, increments by 1. As starting value is 0. So what will be the next number available in the sequence? So if you observe that, so when 0 is incremented by 1, you will get 1. So to get the next item, so we will increment the 1 by 1 such that 2 will be the next item which is part of that sequence. Next again, so when you add 1 for 1, so it will give what? 2. So when you add 1 for 2, it gives you the next item which is part of the sequence. So such that 0 to 9 are displayed. 0 to 9 are what? These are the items which are part of the sequence which is returned by the range function. Let us suppose if I am giving 5 here. Now what happens? How many values will be returned, guys? If you observe the sequence will be having how many number of items? So if I am mentioning 5 here, how many number of numbers will be returned?
5.
5 number of numbers will be returned. Starting from
0.
0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 0 to 4 will be the sequence of numbers which is returning by the range function if I mention 5 here. So the value which we are specifying here, minus 1 will be considered. So as I am mentioning 10 here, so 10 minus 1 is considered. So it starts from 0. So 0 to 9 are considered here. So 0 to 9 values, 0 to 9 are what? They are the items which are part of the sequence which is returning by the range function. So what's the first value? As it is 0. So for 0, it will execute the logic for 1 time. For 1, it will execute the logic for 1 time. So the values which are part of the sequence, okay, so in that values, so it considers starting from the first value. So okay, so when I'm executing this particular loop for the first time, so what is this range returning? As it is returning 0 to 9 numbers which are part of the sequence. So what's the first number returning by the range?
0.
So that 0 is assigned into the x variable and executes the logic. Okay, so print of x. So what it does, guys? So 0 will be displayed. So as print function is going to display something onto the screen. So what we are displaying? X content. So what is x having?
0.
Now x value will be displayed. Then after execution of the logic, again it goes for the second item available within the sequence. So what is the second item available in the sequence?
1.
So that 1 is assigned to the x variable. Then this logic will be executed. So as my logic is having only one statement, that logic is going to be executed, guys. So what it does, one value will be displayed onto the user screen. Then again goes to the third item available within the sequence. What is the third item, guys?
2.
2. So 2 will be assigned to X, and that value will be displayed onto the user screen. So like this, it displays up to which extent, guys? What's the last item available within the sequence?
9.
9. So it displays what? 0 to 9. Is it clear, guys? So we are working for loop over sequences. So whatever things we have done with for loops in C programming language, those all things cannot be implemented in Python programming language, guys. For example, if I want to specify some sort of conditions over here, right? So other than sequences, so if I want to do it with the help of for loop, then is it possible with Python programming language, guys, by using for loop? No, it is not possible. So what we have to do, so if you want to implement it, that means if you want to implement the logic based upon certain set of conditions, not based upon the values, not based upon the sequence of values. So if such kind of requirement is there, means to fulfill such kind of requirement, we are not going with the concept of for loop. What we have to do? So how that kind of requirement is fulfilled, guys? Can anyone respond? Please respond, guys. Are you understanding or not? So if this based upon this kind of values over the sequence of values, if you want to execute the logic for multiple number of times, means you can do it with the help of for loop. But mentioning the things, that means executing the logic based upon certain set of conditions. So if you want to specify a condition, so is it possible with for loop, guys?
No, sir.
It is not possible. So how it is achieved?
While loop.
While loop.
Superb, Amma. So what you have to do? So that requirement can be fulfilled with the help of while loop. You are not using for loop here. So it is not same as a for loop which we have seen in C programming language. So here in Python programming language, for loop works over what? Sequences. So based upon the elements, based upon the number of items that are available part of that sequence, based upon the number of items available within the sequence, they're based upon that. So it executes the logic for that many number of times. If sequence is having some n number of items, logic will be executed for n number of times. If sequence is having x number of items, logic will be executed for x number of times. So see here, so to loop through the for loop. So for loop, this is less like the for keyword in other programming languages. In other programming languages, like which language, guys? So we are familiar with C programming language or not? So whatever we have done with C programming language by using for loop, so those all things cannot be implemented with for loop in Python programming language, guys. It is less like for keyword in other programming language. That's the meaning, guys. Are you understanding? Hello.
Yes, sir.
So if the sequence is having a number of elements, as it is having n elements, so we can execute the logic for how many number of times?
N number of times.
N number of times. So please remember, point to be noted. So this is the point, guys. So this is less like the for keyword in other programming language. Works more than the iterative method found in object-oriented programming language. So with the for loop, we can execute set of statements. Means what? Logic will be executed once for each item in a list. Means what? If it is having n elements means what? N number of items. So logic will be executed for how many number of times? So once for each item means as sequence is having n number of items, logic will be executed for logic which is having set of statements. So this set of statements will be executed for how many number of times?
N times.
N times. So range, based upon range. So if you want to execute the logic for multiple number of times, you can use range function here. Now assume that. So my requirement is to start with 1. But if you observe the default value, so what's the default value, guys? It starts from
0.
It starts from 0. So in the sequence, if I want to start from 2, so 0 to 9 values, 0 to 9 are the part of sequence, isn't it? So when I'm mentioning 10 here, So the value minus 1 is considered starting from 0. So 0 to 9 are the range of numbers which are written by this range function. Okay, sequence of numbers which are written by the range function. 0 to 9 are produced. So 0 to 9 are produced or not? Hello.
Yes, sir.
The range is returning what? 0 to 9. Okay, so if I want to start from 2, what I have to do? So for that, so in range function, we have to pass 2 number of parameters. So here are how many number of parameters are passed here?
1.
Only one parameter, right? Now, if you see the second type, so here we have to start with what? So here we are passing how many number of parameters, guys? 2 number
Two.
of parameters. So out of 0 to 9, if I want to start with 2, okay, so mention that starting value. Starting item can be described here. So it starts from what? 2 to up to what extent?
9.
9. So this value minus 1 is considered. So 2 to 9 is considered. Okay, so this range function will be returning how many number of values, guys? 2 to 9 means
8.
8 values. Okay, so this logic is going to be executed for how many number of times?
8.
8 number of times. Now if you see here, so 2 to 10 minus 1, so 2 to 9 will be considered. So when the loop is executed for the first time, so what is the value of x here?
2.
2. So executes the logic for the first time. So what is the value of x? X value will be 2. So 2 will be displayed upon the user screen. Then control goes to this part in of the second value is considered. So what is the second value of the sequence?
3.
3 is the second value. So that 3 will be assigned to x and executes the logic. So what is x value?
3.
3. So 3 will be displayed on the console screen, on the output screen. Then goes to the in again. So what's the third item?
4.
4. So x value is what? Now x value is
4.
4. So 4 will be assigned to the x. Now 4 will be displayed onto the user screen. Then again, it considers the next item available in the sequence. So that item is assigned to x and executes the logic. So like this, so 2 to 9 are displayed upon the user screen. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, if you see here, so when I'm considering the values which are part of the sequence, those values are incremented by 1. See here. So if you consider any two consequent values, okay, so 2 plus 1 is giving 3. So 3 plus 1 is giving 4. 4 plus 1 is giving 5. 5 plus 1 is giving 6. But if I want a sequence, that has to be incremented by our own value. Okay, let us suppose I want to increment it by 5. I want to increment it by 5. So does this kind of syntax works?
No.
No,
Yes.
it won't work. So for that, so we have to go with 3 parameters. So range function has to be specified with what? 3 number of parameters, guys. So if you are specifying like this, okay, so what's the first parameter? The starting value of the sequence. So the starting value of the sequence has to be specified. So it is what it is?
2.
30. So first of all, we are specifying 2 here. So what's the starting value of the sequence?
2.
2 is the starting value. So what's the last value? So 30. When I'm specifying here it as 30. So 30 minus 1 is considered. Up to 29 is considered. Now, if you consider the third parameter, so what it does, so to get the next value as part of the sequence, this value will be added with the starting value. So 2 plus 5 is what?
7.
7. So for 7, 5 is added. So in the previous case, 1 is added. So in this case, what we are doing? So we are adding 5. Let us suppose if I want to add with 2. Okay. So what I have to do? Please respond.
In 5 place 2.
In 5 place, you have to specify 2. Okay. So see here. So for x in range of 2, 2 comma 30 comma 5. So sequence should start with what? Hello. Sequence should start with what?
2.
2. So if you observe the values which are part of the sequence which is produced by the range function, so which values are produced here, guys? Range of 2, 30, 5, right? So if you observe that, so this particular range function is returning what kind of values in the sequence? So first of all, 2. So 2 should be incremented by 5. What's the value?
7.
7. 2, 7. Next, 7 should be incremented by
5. 12.
7 plus
12.
7 plus 5.
12.
12. 12 is the next value available in the sequence. So next item?
17.
17. Next item?
22.
22. Next item?
27.
Next item? 27. Next item? What's the next item?
32.
So can we go with 32?
No, sir.
No. So see here, 30 minus 1 is considered. That's the final value, right? So less than 30 minus 1 should be considered. Less than 30 should be considered. Less than 30. So what is less than 30? So we can consider up to 29, but not more than 29. Is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the sequence generated by this particular range function is what? 2, 7, 12, 17, 22, 27. Now, when this loop is executed for the first time, so this is the logic, right? So when the loop is executed for the first time, so which value will be assigned to the x, guys? What's the first value?
2.
So 2 will be assigned here. So 2 in this particular list. So it always starts from the first value. Okay. So what's the first item available in the sequence? So 2 is the first item available in the sequence. So that 2 will be assigned to x and executes the logic. So if you see the logic, so what I'm mentioning here, print of x. So what is x value here? X value is 2. So 2 will be displayed upon the user screen, on the output screen. Now, after executing this whole logic, so goes for the next item available in the sequence. So what's the next item?
7.
7. So 7 will be assigned to x and executes the logic. So as part of this logic, only one statement is mentioned here. So this logic will be executed. Okay. Then 7 is displayed on the user screen. So after executing the logic, so goes for the third item available in the sequence. What is the third item, guys? 12. 12 is assigned to x variable and executes the logic. It will be displayed on the output screen. Then what happens after execution of this logic? It goes for the next item available in the sequence, or the next item 17. So 17 is assigned to x and executes the logic. Then again goes to the next item. So what's the next item, guys? 22. So 22 is assigned to x and executes the logic. Then goes for the next item available in the sequence. The next item available in the sequence is what? 27. So x is assigned with what? 27 and executes the logic. So as it has to display the value of x, so 27 will be displayed upon the user screen. So do we have any other item available in the sequence? Is it the end of the sequence or not? So up to that extent, the logic is going to be executed. Okay, for each data item, for each item available within the sequence, for each item available in the sequence, so logic will be executed for one time. So how many items are available here?
6.
6. So logic will be executed for how many number of times? 6 number of times. So this is something about what? Range function. So we have seen the concept of list, right? So L1 equal to, so how list is represented, guys? Hello. Elements. How elements are represented as part of the list?
Circular list.
Circular braces. Circular braces will represent what? Tuple. Square braces, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I am mentioning like this. List. So list is a kind of sequence or not? Please answer.
Yes.
List, tuple, frozen set, dictionaries, all these are what? Strings is also called as what? One kind of sequence or not?
Yes, sir.
String is sequence of characters or not?
Yes, sir.
Sequences. They are called as what? Sequences. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how many elements are part of this particular list, guys?
5.
5. So if I want to try over this particular list, so I want to display the content of list over the user screen. Okay. So for this, I'm using for loop here. For X in keyword has to be used. What is the list variable, guys?
L1.
L1. If I'm mentioning like this and giving one tab space, then I'm displaying the content of the list, guys. So print of X is written. Now, can anyone guess what's the output of this program? Output. What's the output, guys?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
First line it will display 1, second line 2, third line 3, fourth line 4, fifth line 5. So this is the output. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So similarly, I can show you the example with the help of tuple, guys. So because we discussed about tuple data type, right? So tuple is what? Read-only version of the list or not? So T1 equal to, let us suppose if I'm writing like this, okay? So 1, comma 2, comma 3, comma. So if I'm writing GVK here, okay? So this is the tuple, guys. So for X in, can anyone guess what
T1.
has to, sorry?
T1.
T1. Then give one tab space, then
Print.
print of
Print X.
T1.
X. So what it will display?
1, 2, 3 GVK.
First line 1, second line 2, third line 3, and fourth line you can see what this kind of output over the what example. This is also an example. So for loop.
Sir,
So-
in for loop,
Cheppanamma, you can ask.
sir, in for loop, can we have different gaps like printing, not only having same sequence, but incrementing different type of incrementations?
So to go with different kind of incrementations, you have to use what? Range function.
Yes, sir.
Range
Sir-
function should be used.
So 2 consecutive numbers are having same increment, no? 5, as you took example. Instead of taking in each 5, can we do first number is incremented
Sorry?
by 1 and second?
Sorry. Can you give one example?
So first number, for example, 1 and 3, and the difference of first 2 numbers is 2. And then if you want to increment second number by 3 and next third number by 4.
See,
can
there
we
you
do
have
that?
to mention what formula. Hello.
Sir.
So you have to use range function. Range function should be used. So by using for loop, you cannot meet all kind of conditions, guys. Please remember. So whatever we have done in C programming language, those all things cannot be fulfilled with the help of for loop in Python programming language. So conditions cannot be mentioned here. Is it clear? Is that point clear? Can
Yes,
we
sir.
mention any kind of conditions in a for loop in Python programming language?
No, sir.
No, it is not possible. So for loop is worked over what?
Sequence.
Sequences. Point to be noted. It is very important, guys. If someone asks you regarding this, so can we go with conditions in for loop in Python programming language means what is the answer?
No, sir.
No. So can we do it in C programming language?
Yes.
Yes, it is possible. So we are working over what? We are working over the sequences. So if sequence is having n number of items, the logic is going to be executed for how many number of times?
N times.
N times. If it is having n number of times will be executed. So that's the thing, guys. So it's very simple. So we will see practically. So I will show you the execution in IDE, guys. Okay.
Sir,
Go to, yeah, you can ask.
to represent output in a single line statement, how
See.
what conditions are used?
See, I will discuss regarding that while discussing about IO statements. So after discussing about the control statements, I will go to that part. Is it clear, guys?
Okay.
So I already told you in the yesterday session. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So we will discuss as part of that. So right now I'm focusing upon what control statements. So I can understand your requirement, but hold for a period of time. Okay. Is it clear? Hello. ఖచ్చితంగా చెప్తానమ్మా ఆ టాపిక్ చెప్తాను ఇన్పుట్ అవుట్పుట్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ డిస్కస్ చేస్తాను డీటెయిల్ గా డిస్కస్ చేస్తాను అక్కడ డిస్కస్ చేస్తాను ఇది సిచ్యువేషన్ కాదు ఓకే, అక్కడ డీటెయిల్ గా డిస్కస్ చేద్దాం. మీరు చెప్పిన ఫార్మాటే కాకుండా డిఫరెంట్ ఫార్మాట్స్ చూడొచ్చు. ఓకే, ఇస్ ఇట్ క్లియర్? హలో,
Yes, sir.
నేను స్కిప్ అవ్వట్లేదమ్మా. నేను టాపిక్ అనేది ఉన్నది, దాని రిలేటెడ్ సపరేట్ గా మాట్లాడాల్సింది ఉంది కాబట్టి ప్రస్తుతానికి స్కిప్ చేశాను. నేను చెప్తాను ఎలా చేయాలి ఏంటి అనేది చెప్తాను. ఓకే, నెక్స్ట్ ఏంటిది, కంట్రోల్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ మొత్తం అయిపోవాలమ్మా. టాపిక్ అయిపోయిన తర్వాత నేను డిస్కస్ చేస్తాను. ఓకే, ఓకేనా అమ్మా? అరే
Okay.
Yes, sir.
అమ్మా,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
ఎలా ప్రింట్ చేయాలి అదే లైన్ లో అనే దాని గురించి డిస్కస్ చేద్దాం. అది నేను ఇప్పుడు చెప్పనని చెప్పట్లేదు, కాకపోతే ఇప్పుడు కరెక్ట్ టైం కాదు, తర్వాత డిస్కస్ చేస్తానని చెప్తున్నాను. ఓకే
Okay, sir.
ఓకే. So we will copy the code, guys. So first example. So we will discuss upon range, guys. Okay, range function. So what does range function returns? What does range function returns? Please respond, guys.
Sequence of numbers.
Sequence of numbers will be returned by the range function, guys. Okay, so we will see the first example. So example for loop, guys. So are you seeing the code window?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, save the code. So it is example for so for example 1 dot py. Okay, so after saving the logic, go for execution. Is it the output?
Yes,
Hello.
sir.
So what I have specified, guys, see the code, range of 10. So it starts from which value?
0.
0. Increments by
By
increments by 1.
1.
1.
It considers up to what? The value which is
9.
specified here minus 1. So it considers up to 9. So less than the value which is specified over the parameter of range function. Okay, then let us suppose I don't want to start with 0, guys. I want to start with 3. I want to start with what? 3. Now what I have to do? So can I go with single parameter of range function?
No, sir.
No. What we have to do? So we have to specify 2 parameters, guys. So let us suppose I want to start with 3 here. Okay, so is it the requirement? So when I want to start with 3, so is it the modification required in the code?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So
Yes, sir.
here we need 2 number of parameters. Okay, so first parameter is what? The starting value of the sequence. So here it should start with what? 3. It should consider up to what extent? Okay, that boundary has to be specified here. So 10 minus 1 is considered. So 3 to
9.
9. 3 to 9 is considered. So what will be the output, guys? So see the logic. So for example 2 dot py. So when I execute the program, what will be the output?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Isn't it? So if you observe the sequence, so if you consider any two values of any, if you consider any two consequent values, if you consider any two consequent values, so the value when you increment by 1, you will get the another value, isn't it? So when I consider any two consequent values, let us suppose if I'm considering 3 and 4 here. So how I am getting 4 here? So when I'm adding 1 with 3, I'm going to get 4. So when I'm considering 4 and 5, okay, so when 4 is incremented by 1, we will get what? 5. So when I'm taking these two values 5 and 6, so when I'm incrementing 5 by 1, I will get the 6. So in each case, that means to get the next item in the sequence, so we are incrementing by 1. I don't want the default incrementation. I want to go with my own incrementation. So instead of 1, it should be incremented by 3. So let us suppose it is my requirement. Are you understanding my requirement?
Yes, sir.
So what I'm expecting, guys? So can we fulfill the requirement with the help of these two parameters in the range?
No, sir.
No. So how many parameters are needed here? 3 number of parameters are needed. Okay. So in the third parameter place, I will specify what? Can anyone respond?
3.
3 should be specified. Now, so in place of 10, if I am writing 30 here, okay, what it will display? Sequence will start with
3.
3. Sequence will start with, are you seeing the code window?
Yes, sir.
Sequence will start with 3. So each value will be incremented by
3.
3. Up to what extent?
29.
29.
29 will be considered. Up to 29 it will consider. Okay. Let us suppose if I am considering 31 here. Now, what's the output, guys? Can anyone guess?
Up to 30.
Up to 30. So can you tell me the values which are part of the sequence? Please respond, guys. Can you tell me the values which are part of the sequence?
3.
3,
3, 6,
6,
9,
9,
9.
12,
12,
15.
15,
15, 18,
18,
21,
21.
21, 24, 27,
24.
and up to 30. So 30 is also displayed on the user screen. Save the program, guys. So it's a third kind of range function, guys. So a range function having single parameter, range function having 2 parameters, range function having 3 parameters. You should remember about this syntax. You should know about the importance of those parameters of the range function, guys. So is it clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So for example, 3.py, save the code and run the program. See here, is it the output which I am expecting from the program execution?
Yes, sir.
Yes, no.
So instead of 3, so if I want to increment it by 6, what I have to do? So a
In
value
place of-
should start with 3. Value should start with 3. Value should start with 3. And the boundary value is 31. So each value should be incremented by 6. Now, can anyone tell me the code? So what sort
Replacing
of
3 with
modification
6.
has to be done in the code?
Replacing 3 with 6.
Replacing 3 with 6. Okay. Suppose if I am writing 6 here, does it work?
No, sir. No, sir.
So what's the
No.
starting value? Starting value is 3. So we should not change this value. So which parameter should be changed?
Third one.
Third parameter. So this value should be changed to
6.
6. So when I'm changing to 6, what will be the output?
3, 9.
3, 9,
15,
15, 21, 27.
21, 27. That's it. So save the code, guys. Save as, for example, 4.py. Save the code, then run the program. That's it. Are you understanding?
Yes, sir.
So 3, 9, 15, 21, 27. Now, so this is about range function. Range function, but I can work upon the sequence objects like string data type, like list data type, tuple data type, set data type. On those things we can work upon or not. So we can use for loop or not. So we will see with the collection related data types and string data type. Okay. So we will see different examples for that. So go to the code window. Now we will work over what? Are we working upon range function, guys? Hello. Now
no.
we will see with what? List. Okay. So list L1 equal to. So list will be represented. Are you seeing the code window?
Yes, sir.
Comma JVK. Sorry. JVK. Okay. L1. Now, which part of the code has to be modified?
Range.
In place of
In place of
range.
range, what we have to modify?
L1.
L1. L1 should be specified. So please remember, guys. So here we have to specify colon operator. So we have missed in the notepad editor, but colon is mandatory, guys. Don't forget. Okay. So L1. So what it will display?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 JBK.
So for example,